Yeah, I'll react to that, sure.
Hey guys, let's watch a Walter's World video, travel video, Northern Europe. The don'ts of visiting Northern Europe. Fun. Preemptive like, my name's Connor if you're new. Hey guys, let's watch.
Mark here with Walter's World. Today we're back in Helsinki, Finland in Northern Europe. And today what we have for you are the don'ts of visiting Northern Europe. And I want to start with this one don't for my Swedish, Norwegian, and Danish friends because they're going to make sure we mention this. And that is, don't think Scandinavia is Northern Europe.
I was going to say fun fact. Well, I'm not even sure. I'm not positive it's true. So, fun, I think, fact. Helsinki is about the same latitude as Anchorage, Alaska. So, what I consider myself in the north. I feel like I say this like with every video I watch of Northern Europe, but I'm going to say it again. I feel like I'm in the north, but compared to I'm like on the level of Spain, okay? But over here, that's north. But over there, that's Southern Europe. And that just goes to show how Europe is a lot more up north than I think a lot of people realize. Let's go.
Or I should say, don't think all of Northern Europe is Scandinavia.
Estonia, Latvia,
Scandinavia,
Lithuania.
that is Sweden, Norway, and Denmark. No, it does not include Finland. I'm sorry. No, it doesn't include Iceland or the Baltics. No, 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 no. Scandinavia is just that part over there. So don't get confused because the Swedes, the Danes will let you know about it, okay? Another don't I want to mention for you that'll also get a lot of feathers ruffled is don't think the Baltic countries are just Russia Junior.
Yeah, I'd imagine that would not go over well.
Look, they will not appreciate that. You tell someone in Lithuania they're Russia Junior, you might get punched in the face. Actually, I'm pretty sure you'll get punched in the face.
I wouldn't like that guy, and I'm from the USA.
You go over to Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, it is a whole different vibe than going to Russia. Yes, there is some of that old Soviet architecture that's there, but the culture is different. Yes, you'll hear some Russian when it's spoken there, but honestly, thinking that the Baltics is Russia Junior is wrong. Like if you go to Estonia, you'll feel more like you're here in Finland than you are anywhere.
Crap, who is that guy?
Yes, you'll hear some Russian when it's spoken there, but honestly, thinking that the Baltics...
He looks so familiar. Is that Admonson?
is Russia Junior is wrong. Like if you go to Estonia, you'll feel more like you're here in Finland than you are anywhere in Russia. And no matter where you're going in Northern Europe, I gotta tell you this, don't miss out on the capitals, because that's why a lot of those cruises just hit the capitals of the Baltics and Northern Europe, because they are wonderful. Whether you're here in Helsinki and you're going to the Kaisma, the Modern Art Museum, which is fantastic, checking out the cathedral here, or going to the Kaupatori, the market when you're here, going to Stockholm and see the Vasa Museum, you know, the sunken battleship that's there.
Yep. You know, this battleship kind of reminds me of the battle of the ship. This ship reminds me of the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie, Davy Jones' ship. Am I alone there? But I have heard about this. I believe this is the one where I've seen a video about this ship. I hope this is the ship. And I guess they didn't orient the weight well enough, and it was too top heavy, and so in its main voyage, it capsized because I guess there were maybe too many heavy cannons on the top deck, but they pulled it out much later, and it's in pretty darn good shape.
There and taking all that in, going to see the folk museum that's there and just kind of taking it all in, going to Oslo, very cool city, very expensive, but I'll talk about that later. Honestly, Tallinn, my goodness, one of the prettiest old towns in all of Europe. Riga, Party Central. Vilnius is cool as well. And honestly, the capitals are great. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you want the best old town, go to Tallinn. You want the best party town in Northern Europe, you go to Riga.
Latvia.
You want the best all-around experience, go to Stockholm. But honestly, don't pass up on the capitals here in Northern Europe because they are...
Stockholm looks beautiful from the pictures I've seen because it seems to be separated on a few islands. And it looks cool. I didn't phrase that well.
are great. But as I alluded to, don't think coming to Northern Europe will be cheap, because Scandinavia, you know, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, they're expensive. Finland's expensive. Iceland's expensive. Heck, if you go to Estonia, Estonia's expensive. This is not 1990s Eastern Europe where everything's a nickel. No, Estonia is expensive. Latvia and Lithuania, they're not as affordable as they used to be. So don't think you're going to get by without spending a few coins when you are here. And I think talking about the coins, don't think they're all using the euro, because they're not. Finland, yes. Estonia, yes. Latvia, yes.
Sweden,
Lithuania,
no.
yes. Sweden, no. Denmark, no. Norway, no. There aren't. So make sure you know that. But one thing I will tell you is don't forget to bring your credit cards, because a lot of places here are contactless payments. You just tap and go kind of stuff.
I feel like that makes it easier.
That. So as long as you got your Visa or MasterCard, you're pretty much okay spending a lot of money when you're here. But no matter where you are, whether you're in the back...
Wait. So I can bring my American credit card and use it without doing some exchange stuff prior. I can just go there and use my credit card and use it, and it'll exchange automatically. Is that the case?
Woods of Lithuania, or you're up in Lapland here in Finland, I gotta tell you this, don't miss out on the nature. I mean, rural tourism is a thing if you're going to Latvia, if you're going to Lithuania, going to the sauna when you're here in Finland, and going and diving into the lakes afterwards when you come out there, rolling in the snow afterwards, hiking and seeing the fjords. Oh my God, the fjords. Oh my God, they're so beautiful in Norway, seeing the volcano fields and everything in Iceland. I mean, Northern Europe has some of the best nature. So if you want to go hiking, you want to be out in nature, you want to with your kids, this is a fantastic place, because I gotta tell you, don't be afraid to bring your whole family when you come to Northern Europe, because they do a great job of having stuff for everybody.
I'm not a big nightlife person, okay? I'll go to a bar or something, but that's fine with me. I'm going to be most interested in nature and history, meaning like museums and historical sites.
So now we're here in Turku, Finland, and my next stone for you is don't think that all the Northern Europeans all like each other. I mean, if you want to make friends here in Finland, just tell a local that Sweden sucks at hockey, and you can make friends, because there is a lot of rivalry between the countries when you're here. I mean, Danes, they don't really like anybody else anyway, but
I was under the impression that Nordic countries kind of get along quite a bit. Like, they make fun of each other, but they'll probably act very brotherly if anyone else kind of attacks them,
whatever,
you know?
We're better than the Baltics. We're better than the rest of the Scandinavians. No big deal.
Oh,
I mean,
beautiful
you do
Rhode.
have that rivalry between them. Like, you'll see the Swedes actually making fun of the Norwegians because how expensive it is there. Like, you have that. And it's one of those things that if you say that they're all the same, it's not going to go over well, because they do have that competition kind of stuff. And honestly, kind of going along with that, I think don't think that they're all the same, because there are differences. Even when people say, oh, Sweden and Norway and Denmark and they're all the same thing. No, I've lived in these places. I spent time in these places. I've traveled in these places. I have friends in these places. They are distinctly different cultures and people and ways.
Yeah, I'm under the impression that it's kind of like a brotherly hate, where like the brothers can make fun of each other, but if someone makes fun of them, they'll come to their defense. I don't know. I could be completely wrong, okay? That's just kind of a first impression.
Of life. I mean, there's some similarities, yes, but it really is different. That's why when you do a Baltic tour, you do get a very big, different taste. Like going and hanging out with Lithuanians versus hanging out with Norwegians versus Danes. I mean, it's three different cultures, and so don't think it's all the same. Take that in, because I've heard people say, oh, why do I want to do that Baltic cruise? It's all seeing the same thing. No, it's not. But one thing where it is all the same everywhere is don't wear your shoes inside anyone's home, whether you're in Lithuania or here in Finland or Norway.
Understandable.
Look, it's Northern Europe. We have snow. Like, look, lots of snow now, okay? Snow, slush, grossness, your shoes get dirty, it's all nasty. Yeah, you don't wear the shoes inside people's houses. That's just a big old no, 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 anytime. Another don't I have for you is maybe limit your visits to Northern Europe between November and February, because it's cold, it's dark, it's snowy, it's wet, it is kind of a depressing time. Like I lived in Finland for a year. I lived, almost 4 years in Lithuania. I've spent all this time up here, and when it's dark at 11 o'clock in the morning, and when you get out of school at like 3 in the afternoon, and it's dark and cold and miserable, it gets kind of depressing, and it kind of takes away from it all. So that's why I'm saying, don't come at those times. Come in the summer, because you have all the festivals.
And it's the opposite in the summer, right? You'll have super long daylight, and and super short darkness, right? And I'm sure maybe in the very north parts of Scandinavia and Finland, it might be like 24/7 sunlight. I'm not sure if that's north enough for you to get 24/7 sunlight. But that'd be interesting. And it is one thing that would be... I don't mind cold, all right? I don't mind snow. I don't mind rain. But a lot of darkness in the wintertime would probably get to me a bit.
Don't miss the festivals, because honestly, Northern Europe, they have some of the best festivals, whether it's music, you want to see rock, Ruse Rock here in Turku on the islands, you have that, or the Jazz Festival in Lithuania. I mean, there's all kinds of great festivals in the summer times. Midsummer in Sweden, you run around the poles and you got the hat of flowers on. I mean, there's so many fun things to do, and those festivals are a great time to experience, Northern Europe, but in the summertime, not the winter.
I am a little bit upset at that because it makes me think and realize and think about a lot of the non-Scandinavian European traditions that probably did exist, but because of centuries of warfare and Christianity coming through, that I'm sure a lot of those pagan, very traditional religious festivals, what we would call religious, were probably wiped out. And so it's nice to know that at least a few places in Europe still have some of that non-Christian old religious ceremonies and traditions,
And kind of going along with that, don't expect to get to bed early in the summer because of those festivals, but also because when it's sunlight until 11:30 at night, sometimes it's a little tough. Like if you're in
very unique looking building.
Iceland. I remember when we went there with Liam and he was a little, and he's like, I'm not going to bed. The sun's still out. I'm like, dude, it is 11:30 at night. Go to bed. Why? It's sunny. And it's like 3 in the morning. He's wide awake. I mean, yeah, it sometimes can be a little difficult sleeping in the summer times, but it's a good problem to have. Now, another thing for tourists is you don't really have to worry about learning the local language when you come to Northern Europe.
So good.
Whether you're hanging out in Finland or you're going out to Norway or you're chilling out in Estonia, none of them expect you to know Estonian. Nobody expects you to know Lithuanian or Finnish or Swedish. No, they've all learned English. They speak English very well, and when you're here, it makes it easier for tourists, and that's why I recommend Northern Europe for a lot of tourists for their first trips to Europe. It's like, look, if you're scared of the language barrier and you don't want to do England or Ireland, then go to Scandinavia, go to Northern Europe, go to there's a lot of English spoken there, just no one expects it. But that's one thing I want to say is, don't be surprised the locals lose their mind if you do know a few words. Like,
I took Spanish for 6 years in middle school and then high school, and I still barely know anything. I can probably recognize some words and stuff, but somehow I would love to learn how English is taught. Makes me feel a little stupid sometimes, just knowing that someone else is so good at a language I know and I don't know the language they know. I would love to know just how do you teach it so well that everyone can speak both Swedish perfectly and English perfectly?
Here in Finland, if I just say kiitos, which is thank you, they're like, oh my goodness.
Kiitos.
When I lived in Lithuania, I'd bust out my Lithuanian like, aš esu Markas, I'm Mark. They're like, whoa, hey, get this man a drink. He's like,
Kronvalda Bulvaris.
Kata, like cheers. They say kata in Lithuania is how you say it. Here, keep peace for cheers. Skål in Sweden. Learning how to say cheers.
Skål, that sounds so Viking. That's great.
You'll make so many friends. So don't think you have to know the language when you come, but don't be surprised if it helps out if you do know a few words. And when you do talk to the locals here, one thing I want to say is that don't think Northern Europeans are rude. I find them to be more
introverted,
conservative, not like conservative like in political stuff, but like conservative in terms of reserved, okay? So they don't mince words. They don't mix words. They only talk when it's kind of like a conversation.
Man, why do American streets look so ugly compared to European ones?
Thing.
Sorry, what is... I got caught off.
So they don't mince words. They don't mix words. They only talk when it's kind of like a conversation thing. They don't branch out. You know, in Denmark, you know, they'll tell you, look, you're not my friend. Why do I care about you? I don't care about your history. I don't care anything about you because you're not my friend. You're not important to me. So you have that kind of thing. So people kind of take it as a rudeness, which sometimes it kind of is, but it's not that they're doing it to be rude. It's more that this is my life and that's your life. So what's the big deal? So that's why sometimes it's hard to make friends when you do come to Northern Europe, because it is kind of like a shield sometimes that they put up because they don't you don't get as integrated. But I will say this, wherever you go in Northern Europe, once you kind of get through that coldness, that reservedness, they are the most fun people, and they will have some drinks with you. They'll invite you to their homes. They'll have you to their summer houses, their summer cottages, going to sauna out on the islands here, going to the dachkas, the little cottages outside the villages in Lithuania and Latvia. I mean, that's one of the best things about coming to Northern Europe. You meet those people, seeing those little like summer houses they have in Sweden. They're just a cool, fun thing to do. It was cool if you make the local friends and they invite you to the place. You're gonna have some traditional food, but I think that's one of the don'ts I have to tell you is don't think it's gonna be easy to find traditional food in Northern Europe, because like here in Finland,
Is that a chowder?
people kind of like international food, and you're going to, Latvia. They have a huge burger craze. Like, wait, I want to have traditional Latvian food. I want to have traditional Estonian food.
Is that a salmon chowder?
I want to have traditional Norwegian food. It's not as easy to find restaurants that really focus on regional foods. Even at hotels, it'll be like, oh, we have Italian, we have Spanish, we have Indonesian food. So that's one of those things. So make sure you ask, where can I get traditional food? Because the locals might be like, why would you want to eat reindeer when we can have tacos? I'm like, well, I want to
Where are the lingonberries?
have reindeer when I'm here. That's one of those things, right? Because, come on, Cordova Pussy, the cinnamon rolls here are fantastic. We eat Danishes in the U.S. because Danish pastries are so good. I want the local food. But yeah, don't think it's going to be easy to find sometimes. But it's definitely a
There they are. Those are lingonberries, right? Oh, that's the most Swedish dish I've ever seen. Lingonberries, roasted potatoes, some pickled cucumbers, some nice Swedish meatballs.
thing. Like if you go to Lithuania, you'll find plenty
Oh my god, I'm drooling now. I want that.
of Lithuanian restaurants, but like here in Finland, it's a hit and miss kind of thing. But I will say that don't just go to those capitals. Go into the villages. Go into the towns as well if you want to experience some real traditional living.
Question, guys. When I think of a meatball, I think of an Italian meatball, or we just meatballs. Are they made out of a different meat, or is it the sauce or gravy that makes it a Swedish meatball? And what do they taste like? That looks delicious, by the way.
To the villages. Go into the
I imagine lingonberries having like a cranberry taste. And then, of course, the kind of pickled cucumbers.
towns as well. If you want to experience some real traditional living, some traditional foods, that's the best way to do it. But I will say, when you do get to have the traditional food, don't expect a cultural tasty delight when you have traditional food in Northern Europe. Like you'll notice you don't see a lot of Swedish restaurants around the world or Latvian restaurants around the world. You see a lot of Italian restaurants. You see a lot of like Indian restaurants and Mexican restaurants. But yeah, sadly, not too many Finnish restaurants because the food sometimes you understand why they.
That's not why I'd want to try them, though. I'd want to try them just to see what it tastes like. Not like I'm expecting to be blown away. I feel like that's the kind of attitude you should go into it with.
Like their international fare. And as I'm sitting here in a snowstorm in spring, another don't I have for you is don't be surprised by the weather. Like, look, you got to look at the 10-day forecast, okay? Because it will change. Like, I was here yesterday. Like, there was no snow here yesterday. I was walking around. I had jeans and a shirt on. No big deal. Now, I can't feel my hands. One day later, luckily I brought my gloves. I have my hat. I have my winter coat. But that's one of those things. Coming to Northern Europe, the weather can be quite fickle. So make sure you are checking out those forecasts, okay?
I think there's something about rain and snow for me when it's raining or snowing that kind of comforts me in a way because it gives me an excuse to kind of not be so social. What is that true? Okay, never mind.
And now we're here in Stockholm, Sweden, and I think there's something you need to know. No matter where you go, whether it's in the Baltics or it's here in Scandinavia or in Finland, anywhere in Northern Europe, one thing you got to realize is don't doubt the national pride, okay? When their sports teams play, when their country teams play, you'll see the Swedes dressed up like Vikings, and they'll have their face painted up. You'll see the Danes dressed up. You'll see the Lithuanians in their yellow, their green, and everything, just cheering on. They go crazy. And the thing is, why is that?
Obviously, he's Swedish, not also Charles the 12th. Bernadotte.
They go crazy. And the thing is, why is that important for you as a tourist? Because you will have fantastic folk museums here, stuff about their city history, about their country history, and then you have a lot of open air museums to show here's what it's like in all the different parts of our country. And that's what's really cool. Like here, I mean, I'm here in Stockholm, you got Skansen right over there, like literally like 200, 300 meters away, where I can go and see these old buildings and how things were back in Sweden back in the day. And you have things like that around the country, but also the folk museums, the history museums, you can't miss out. I mean, you see.
Yeah, in like a more social setting, like a club or something. I mean, I'm older now, so but even back then when I would go, I'm not the most comfortable or whatever. But if you put me in a museum, I will talk to the point where I'm going to annoy you, and you'll probably want to flee or something. So it depends on the atmosphere for how
right over there, like literally like
open I'm going to be, I guess.
300 meters away, where I can go and see these old buildings and how things were back in Sweden back in the day. And you have things like that around the country, but also the folk museums, the history museums, you can't miss out. I mean, you see the people's pride, and it's not just the museums. You'll hear it as well. So I will say this, don't be surprised when Northern Europeans have a few drinks and the songs come out, especially at festival time and in the summertime. It's like, yes, we must sing along, and everybody knows the songs. It's kind of a fun thing, so don't be afraid to learn the song to sing along when they start having a few too many, or when the national team is playing. But honestly, don't miss those folk museums when you're here, because you'll learn a lot about the culture and the people. And that's what I really want to say is don't skip out on coming to Northern Europe. A lot of people think it's just, oh, I got to see the West, the Parises and Londons. No, the Stockholms, the Copenhagens, the Turkus, the Helsinkis, Oslo, Bergen, Reykjavik, going to Vilnius, Riga, Sigulda, heading over to the beach of Liepāja and Palanga and Lithuania and Latvia. I mean, you have so many different things you can do in Northern Europe that you probably don't know about, because it's not the biggest, most popular place for people to go. Because that's another big thing I want you to realize is don't expect to have a lot of tourists when you're here, because then you get to really enjoy the community, you get to enjoy the country, the nature, and everything, all right? So what are some other don'ts you have about visiting Northern Europe? Please put in the comments below so we can help other travelers have a great time here in Northern Europe. Bye from here in Stockholm.
Great video. I love Walter's World's videos. Very nice. I had something I wanted to say.
Going to Stockholm's, the Copenhagen.
Oh yeah, the McDonald's. What are you doing there? I know of a Swedish, I think it's Max's, and it looks way better than American fast food. Great video. Loved it. I said most of what I wanted to say throughout the video, like I usually do. So I don't really have much more to say. Looked amazing. Love y'all. Hope you're all doing well. Would appreciate any comments down below. Answering any questions I had, any comments at all. Hopefully I'll see you guys next time. We'll keep on learning. Bye, guys.